Greetings, everyone, and welcome to the fourth edition of Cinema Effect. It is your host, me, Zach, and honestly, I've gotten so lazy. I don't even know, what to do with the nickname thing anymore, Fitzy. I'm joined by you. It's
Oh,
Liam. Hi.
thank God. Hello, I'm Liam.
Did you say thank God?
Oh yeah,
You don't like the nickname thing?
those are terrible.
I thought
Anyway,
you liked them.
oh no, that was awkward.
I'm offended. I was honestly convinced. I mean, I guess you're a good liar. I thought you got a bit of a kick out of them. Apparently not.
It was fun while it lasted, but
We're only on the
I don't
fourth
know.
episode.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
I was
like,
genuinely.
Vinny, what's it mean for the show if your creative ideas have already run out?
Exactly. Because I realized, normally I put a lot of thought into this shit, and I just pressed record, and I realized I had absolutely nothing. So I just went, oh well. Maybe it'll make a return next week. How about that?
Oh God.
You can get it. You can get excited. And I'm also joined by, yeah, again, no nickname. Again, I'll think about it a bit more. Jaden, how are you?
Good, thanks. It's good to know that I'm special to this show.
Yes, of course. You're both as special as each other because I put little thought into either of you, so that's fine. You know, as you can tell, I'm just, I don't know how much I'm feeling this day. I'm just like already like buggered and all this shit.
Yeah.
Anyway, so, well, the main thing is that this morning, very early in the morning, I was lying in bed here, and we've got the old concrete factory near our house here, and they're tearing it down at the moment, like kind of slowly.
Mm.
And they were just doing a ton of works on it, and you hear the drilling and the banging or whatever the hell else they do, and it's kind of, it hasn't put me in the best spirits today, I will say. I don't know what they do to it, but I thought it would have been much cooler if they'd when we first heard they were going to get rid of it, they were going to do some kind of controlled explosion, trying to take it out that way. But unfortunately, they've taken the annoying route of just like slowly knocking it down somehow.
Okay.
Thank God though, because it's a piece of shit looking old thing. So
That's a
I still
cultural
wanted the
site, mate.
explosion. But is it though? Like it's just yeah. I don't know. Well, you know it, don't you, Jaden? It's not that special.
I think it's a cool. I don't know. I love like the industrial aesthetic, and I think that building is like like peak, and I don't know.
It's definitely unique looking.
Yeah, I just think it's cool. I mean, it's been out of use for like a fair few years now. So I mean, fair enough, tear it down, but
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. They need to get what it's worth on that land now. Put all those houses on there.
Hmm. Is this all
But
going
anyway,
into the
this
podcast, or
isn't
is
a
that?
property podcast.
Yeah, okay.
Oh no. Oh, this is 100% staying in. Don't you worry. This is the kind of in-depth chat we need.
Yeah.
Well, how have your weeks been going isolation wise?
Pretty okay. Pretty regular.
Pretty okay. Yeah.
Yeah, no, dull,
Do you guys get frequently bored in these kind of scenarios? Are you bored these days?
I mean, like, not really. Between like uni classes and just watching shit, it's alright.
Mm, yeah, I agree. Because I hear how boredom's like a thing people experience. It's like it's like an emotion apparently, or it's like a feeling. I don't think I've been bored in 2 years, to be perfectly honest. What I actually wanted to get to was this kind of weird experience I had this week. I've been walking my dogs around, and there's this weird thing going on in the neighborhood. I guess it's. I want to hear, but what I'm getting at is I want to know if this is something you've experienced at all, because apparently there's these Facebook games being organized by parents or some shit. And as I'm walking around the neighborhood, I'm seeing teddy bears either being hung up in people's front yards, in windows, in places that can be seen from the outside, obviously. And apparently there are these Facebook games where like kids are riding around the neighborhood trying to spot the teddy bears or some shit. Have you heard of this?
No,
Not
I
till
don't live
now,
in a
no.
nice neighborhood.
Well, I don't know if this is like a good side of a nice name. It's super strange. Like the idea is that it's meant to keep kids entertained in these, dark times or whatever. They're all bored and sitting at home or whatever. But number one, I've got a number of issues with this kind of idea. I get that it comes from a nice place. These parents want to entertain their kids or whatever. But the first issue I have with it is I was walking the dogs, and there was this teddy bear, fairly decently sized teddy bear, hung up on the fence of this house, like the front fence, and it damn well looked like out of a horror movie. Like it looked like this teddy bear was like hanging, as in like a very violent manner. Definitely not the intention, but that image kind of stuck with me. I'm like, I don't know if this is like, this is the kind of the message we want to be spreading around here, to be
I
honest.
think that's exactly the message you want to be spreading.
Is it that if you come in here with the coronavirus, you're going to get hung?
I mean,
Or kill you?
hanged.
Hanged, yeah, I guess. But then also, the other thing was I saw, big groups of kids and parents riding on their bikes to find these teddy bears. And I'm thinking to myself, yo, social distancing people, okay? These weren't family members.
Well, you should issue a complaint, Zach.
I should. I thought it was really counterintuitive. Like, oh yeah, let's set up this game, in these times or whatever, and then let's ignore health guidelines.
Yeah, write a letter.
I should. I was kind of. I don't want to say I was triggered by it, but I was like, I was very curious about it. I was like, this is. I mean, feel free to get infected all you want. I don't really care, but I just thought it was kind of a strange thing. But who cares? Sorry, I'm sorry about that. I'm sorry about that whole opening segment. This is Cinema Effect, the podcast where we review and talk about a different movie every single week. The show posts every Monday at 8 p.m. Australian time and everywhere else around the world. Jane, you raised an interesting point earlier in the week about how does the fact that daylight savings is coming in Australia here tomorrow night, does this affect the idea that 8 p.m. is posted everywhere on Monday around the world?
Does it change it?
Do you know anything about it?
No.
I don't know. Well, yeah, you haven't looked, nah?
No, I thought that was like your little task to look into.
Oh, yeah, no, don't worry. I'm not blaming you. I'm just, I haven't. So I've got no idea. Hopefully, it still posts everywhere on Monday, no matter where you are, on YouTube, Apple Podcast, and Spotify. And please subscribe to the show and all those different things. Leave us a 5-star rating on iTunes to help out the show. Subscribe. I think I said that already. Who cares? Remember to submit your questions, thoughts, and or reviews for next week's episode, the movie we do there, in the YouTube comment section. And last week, I put out a specific kind of question prompt for the audience to be able to get back to us. And we got some responses, which I'll read at the end of the show. So that's fun. Do you think, should I ask another question again this week, or is it kind of cringe doing that?
No, it depends on the question.
Maybe they're like favorite trilogy or something.
Their favorite trilogy of movies.
Mm.
Down. Yeah, that's perfect. I'm doing that. So feel free, please, leave a comment below in the YouTube if you're listening there or wherever else. Leave a comment what your favorite trilogy of all time is and why. Of course, we don't want to just see a name there. You got to tell us why, and we'll read them on the show next week, like we're going to later for the responses we got this week.
Cool.
Guys, this week we're doing the good, the bad, and the ugly. And this is a movie I hadn't seen at all before, and I'm pretty damn excited to talk about it. So let's get into the data dump.
Has this officially become Fitzy's, or is it still yours?
Oh, of course. Yeah, no, that's a good point. Last week I botched everything. You know what? I feel like I deserve a second chance on this because
I mean, it's your
I
fourth
really was
chance.
terrible last week. I feel like I was okay the first two times. It was really last week where it fell apart.
Indeed.
Well, we'll see.
Although I am falling apart in general today anyway.
We'll see how you perform and assess later. How about that?
Okay, well, how about this? I'm going to do it, and then in a few minutes when I'm done, you have to rate me out of 10. Rate me out of 10 on how I went.
Okay, sounds good.
And naturally, with all these Italian names, please do jump in if I say anything terribly wrong. And if there's anything else to add in any of these sections, please jump in if you want to say something. The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly opened in the US on the 29th of December, 1967. Holy shit, we're getting old. We're getting old on this show. This is ancient history.
It hurts that you think 67 is old. I mean, like, it is old, but like, in terms of cinema, I mean, you got another 60, 70 years before that.
Oh, that's no doubt. Yeah, I know. But it's just, I don't know. It's pretty old for me. I reckon I've only ever seen 2 movies that are older than this, maybe. I think.
I mean, surely you've seen like Disney films from the 40s.
Oh shit, you're right. Didn't even think about that. No, you're absolutely right. It's got to be at least 5 then. Yeah, true. Yeah, it's so wild that like Snow White and shit they're made in the 40s. That's crazy. But the interesting thing about the 1967 release date is the fact that this is a full year after it came out in Italy. It released in Italy on the 23rd of December the year before. So this movie's in bloody quarantine, just sitting there for a year doing nothing before it comes out in the US, which is it's kind of an interesting look back, I guess, at how the difference of distribution of films, how that's changed over time. Because that would just not happen today, you know.
Well, I mean, it's an Italian-made film, so I think you'll see a similar, not to the extent of a year, but I mean, there's still
Mm.
like quite often there'll be a few months between an American release and then an Australian or a European release.
Yeah, no, that's true. That's true. But the thing was is that, and I'll get into this obviously in a second, but the movie made most of its money in the US, at least seemingly. So yeah, I don't know. I don't know. Just the idea of that whole year delay is kind of strange to me. But anyway, the film was directed by, oh Jesus Christ, Sergio Leone. Did I nail it?
Yeah, I mean that's what I go with.
Yeah.
Perfect. Perfect. Thank God. Thank God. And and the film was also written by this man, and there are a ton of other writing credits. There are a ton, like I think possibly like 8 other writing credits or something like that, and they're all just Italian ass names, and I'm not even going to bother. So Sergio Leone wrote the movie along with 8 other Italian dudes. That's what I'm going to say for this. The composer of the film was, oh Jesus Christ, Ennio Morricone. I think I got it.
And your
And
emoticon, yeah, I don't know.
oh, you said it with some flair there. I like that a lot.
I mean, Zach, you've seen 7 seasons of Sopranos. You should know how to say the stuff.
You're absolutely right. But they're like, they're like wannabe Italians, they're like just New York gangsters.
Oh, dude, if a New York Italian hears that, they can actually like, come stab you.
Holy shit, you're right. Dude, I'm gonna have to cut that out, aren't I? And wait, for me, can you say the name again one more time, the composer's name?
And your emoticon.
That was badass. I love that. And when I looked at his IMDb, the really interesting thing that I noticed was that he also composed The Hateful Eight. And the thing about that is, I know how much Tarantino's films are inspired by these films, and what a treat it must have been for him to get him as his composer on that western that he did. I think that's pretty cool, considering he's probably like 200 years old. The film stars Eli Wallach as Tuco, Clint Eastwood as Blondie, and Lee Van Cleef as Angel Eyes, the 3 central characters. It had a budget of $1.2 million back in its day. And of course, because that's such an inaccurate number, I had to get out the old inflation calculator, and that adjusts to a $10 million budget today. And so still, definitely not a crazy, crazy budget, but of course, no CG back in the day. So I guess budget's just, I mean, yeah, like I guess they don't really need that much of a budget for this kind of movie.
I mean, Eastwood demanded a Ferrari as part of his payment, so I guess.
That's true, he did. I didn't put that in the trivia section, but I think that's so funny. Yeah. The worldwide box office hit $25.3 million, and that adjusts to today $202 million. So definitely very, very financially successful. But the thing is, with these financial numbers, and I think this is a common thing for movies back in the day, is that where there just weren't a lot of, I guess these people weren't keeping a great record of the numbers and all that, because there are conflicting reports of what the budget was. Some people say it's 1.6 million. I put here IMDb says it's 1.2. Who really knows? And the fact that IMDb claims, apparently, despite anecdotal evidence that the film was very successful in Europe, according to IMDb, the film only made $100,000 in Europe and then made the rest of its $25 million in the US, which just sounds so wrong.
Yeah, definitely sounds. I mean, I guess westerns were big. I mean, westerns were big worldwide back then. I don't know. It doesn't sound right, but a way to question it.
Especially when it came out, like, you'd think if they'd even bother releasing it a year early in Italy, you'd have a fair bit more financial success than that. That's what I would have thought anyway, but, who knows? It's super interesting how that's kind of, all those numbers have just become so inaccurate over time. The film is a Western, naturally. It has a runtime. This is very interesting of 2 hours and 28 minutes according to IMDb, and but I just learned, Jane. You told me just before we started recording that you watched a 3 hour cut, and I know me and Fitzy and I should say, we both watched the 3 hour cut as well. And then this led me into looking into things and the fact that this movie has lots of different cuts with a vast array of runtimes. And that's something I had no idea. So sorry, Fitz, you're right. You did watch we did watch the 3 hour version, right? You did. So it's weird, and I looked at some of the differences, and we'll get into the differences I think as we kind of go into the scenes more. Um, but yeah, no, the different versions kind of come into play with the different regions and the different censorship rules and other bullshit dubbing and all that kind of shit. But here's the synopsis: a bounty hunting scam joins two men in an uneasy alliance against a third in a race to find a fortune in gold buried in a remote cemetery. How did we feel about the good, the bad, and the ugly? Jaden, you've seen this movie before. How did you feel about it watching it for a second time? I guess
A third time.
third time. Awesome, yeah.
I still loved it. Like, it's a film that I loved the first time I watched, and that charm remained. I think the second act it might have teetered off a bit, where some of the scenes I felt dragged on a bit, but still, nonetheless, a brilliant film.
Yeah, I thought it was pretty incredible as well. Yeah, I just like how you got the three main characters, but then you also got like this epic sort of stuff going on in the background. So yeah, it's good.
I liked the movie a lot. I really, really did. I think it's a great movie, and I think I think my main kind of two issues with it per se, they're not issues necessarily with the film itself at all, actually, but my two things that kind of hang ups, I guess, I have with it. Firstly, being the version thing, it actually really bothered me the runtime differences because I did think the movie was too long watching it. But I didn't think it was too long by like a lot. It was just a little too long. And to me, reading that 2 hour and 28 minute runtime sounds perfect. That sounds like the runtime I needed because there were some sequences and scenes I felt were kind of redundant because, like, I don't know, I felt like they'd been either better served or the intention of the scene was done better at an earlier scene or whatever reason there is. And then there are the other thing I kind of have with it is that it's hard for me for this being, a film that's obviously so well regarded and old at this point that I struggle from my modern lens of being able to see just how influential it was because there are so many things in this movie that are just not new to me at all. And I just wonder, it's hard for me to try and, I guess, just figure out how new that a lot of that shit was at the time, how revolutionary and how crazy it must have been for people to see some of this shit go down at the time. Do you know what I mean?
I have that same kind of feeling towards The Usual Suspects, because to me it's nothing new. But in 1995, I mean, that film, like the twist and the way the story unfolds, was kind of amazing. So I understand what you mean, but I don't really apply it to this film. This film I can see, you know.
Because for me, I guess with that, I see this movie very much on the level of a lot of great Tarantino movies. And I know, that might sound a bit of a narrow perspective. And I know how much, obviously, like I said, Tarantino, loves this movie and loves these kind of movies. But at the end of the day, like, all the cool flashy stuff with the score I mean, the score's crazy, but the title cards, popping up and those kind of stylistic like choices, they were definitely cool, no doubt. But I'm like, oh, okay, I've seen that plenty of times, and it's just I feel like I do struggle to appreciate how crazy that must have been that this movie was kind of the first to do it. At least I think it was.
I'm not sure. Like with the title cards and stuff like that, that's nothing really new. I think, especially like the opening credit sequence. I mean, that's something that was existed from like early cinema all the way up until like the 80s, I'd say, when they started fading it out and adding the credits to the end. So like in terms of that, it's not necessarily new, but it's well done.
Yeah. Well, do you think? I guess more what I was referring to is just obviously a very brief part of the movie, but an awesome part nonetheless. Is the choice to have, each character have this introduction segment for each of the three central characters, and then have, the good or the bad or the ugly or whatever kind of come up in this stylistic with the freeze frame. Is that something that's new at the time?
I haven't seen enough films from to really comment on whether it's new or not.
Yeah, well, for me, it's kind of, I know that kind of thing most from Tarantino movies, and that kind of makes me think maybe this movie is pretty revolutionary in that sense. It's a pretty small component, I guess, but I don't know, to me, it really sticks out.
Mm.
So, Fitzy, do you want to throw something out there? What makes you feel like this movie's so good?
The characters, I guess, the music I really loved. The story was it had a very simple kind of hook, but I found it like enough motivation throughout for the characters, and yeah, I don't know, there's just so much great stuff about it. I just really loved it all the way through. I thought, yeah, the tension just constantly rose, and everything just worked for me, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. I love. Yeah, the score was. I mean, let's just get it out of the way because the score is crazy, and it's just awesome. I just love how much that those sounds are
Yeah,
just completely spammed the whole time. Just like, every 30 seconds,
yeah,
just hit it. It's so good, and I'm like, no, this is great. When you've got a tune that's that great, that's clearly that becomes that iconic. It's like, yeah, use it all you want. Just I'll listen to it by itself for 3 hours.
yeah, for sure.
That just comes with like the way that Italians made their films back then. Because I mean, like that repeating that same soundbite over and over, it can be considered rather cheesy. And I guess that's kind of like you wouldn't see that in like an American production at the time, I don't think. But like because it is the spaghetti western, and it is that little bit flamboyant and that little bit more over the top. It fits well, and it does. It was really cool in the film, or interesting rather.
I guess a good place to go then is the film. Is named after its three main characters, which are kind of dubbed the good, the bad, and the ugly. Is there any one of them that either of you kind of prefer, or like the most out of those three characters?
Well, I mean, Blondie's definitely the coolest, but I guess
Yeah,
I like him.
I really really liked Angel Eyes, or the bad. But something about his presence kind of on screen really worked for me, where I just like, obviously he's I guess meant to be just this completely villainous dude, and obviously he murders people that like, so he's obviously not the best bloke around, but something about, I never felt like he did shit that was like so unbelievably terrible, but I just continued to get that the idea that how villainous he is just from the performance. I really enjoyed it.
Hmm.
What about you, Jane? Who's your favorite?
Um, I just love them all because I mean you can't have one without the other because then like the movie doesn't become the good, the bad, the ugly. It's, the good and the bad
Hmm.
or whatever. Um, I 100% agree with like the way that Angel Eyes comes across on screen. It's brilliant. But
Yeah,
um, I think I love Clint Eastwood because I'm just a sucker for that 60s 70s outlaw Eastwood in High Plains Drifter, or these like $3 films, or like Hang 'Em High. I just love Eastwood's performance in those. So I think like I'm kind of just naturally drawn to that anyway.
yeah, absolutely. And so Eastwood stars in this Dollars trilogy of movies that Leone has done. I've seen, I watched the movie yesterday, and since I've kind of, because I know nothing really about any of these movies, and I did some research, and I'm confused. Jane, can you help me? Is this movie a prequel to the others or not?
It's an anthology trilogy, really. I mean, like like none of the films are like the stories aren't directly related, but it has the same. They reuse the same sets and the same characters and the same props and objects and stuff, but none of the films are actually related. People call this a prequel because it is set the earliest in the series, so it's the 1860s, which is the Civil War, and then a fistful of dollars, and for a few dollars more, they're set some time after. So it's a prequel in terms of like timing sense, but it doesn't actually have. It's not, the stories aren't connected.
Gotcha, gotcha. Because the thing that was mainly, I guess, more than anything throwing me off was just seeing the tagline around often that is how it's the final Dollars movie, and
Hmm.
I was like, "What?" So that was messing with me.
It's
But
kind
okay,
of the
no, no,
same
well
as
that makes a lot of
Edgar Wright's
sense.
Cornetto trilogy. It's the three films that follow the same, similar motifs, same actors, similar themes, but they're unrelated.
Gotcha, gotcha. Okay, I do that that doesn't resonate with me, but I'm sure it makes sense to people out there. One thing I loved about the movie was I just really enjoyed the huge sense of scale that the movie brings, and just in obviously the shots and the sets and the ridiculous amount of extras, just making every bloody frame just so dense. Especially as we get into the Civil War, um, the sequence is more rooted in that period in time where we see ridiculous amounts of soldiers and all that kind of stuff. And in general, I guess I've really liked the Civil War as a backdrop to this story because for me anyway, it's not a setting or a time period I'm that familiar with, and seeing that kind of war backdrop amongst in the middle of these desert harsh environments was kind of, I don't know, it was kind of interesting to me. It stood out in that way. Did you like the Civil War kind of being used as a launching pad, if you will?
I really did, because I think when you boil it down, I think this is you can define it as a war film, but just with the but as the context. And I think those are the best war films where the war isn't the main focus, where but the characters or the relations or something is different, but the war is used as a context. So I think that's why I really liked the Civil War as a in this film, because you look at other films like the Battle of Algiers or the Bridge over the River Kwai, they're war films, but um, it's more the character centered and focused, and that's what makes them brilliant war films.
I guess for me, one of my main, I do think the movie's a little too long in the cut we watched, and I do think there was like one or too many kind of going into a place where there's like soldiers lying about and shit, and like kind of the first time it happened, and this is where another a thing where the extended versions come into play, because the first time it happened, I was like, oh, this is cool. We're getting to see kind of like the effects of the war, and kind of revealing a lot about the time period in that way. And I know, I always like just those kind of themes of like war's shit for people, and getting to see the repercussions of that, because there's a lot of amputees in the movie, and clearly people that have been through some shit, and I enjoy that about it. But it happened a few too many times where I'm like, all right, like I don't know, like why we need this many of these scenes, especially when a lot of them are just kind of getting the characters to the next point. But I did look up afterwards, and some of the differences in the extended version that we watched is the fact that the first scene where, or an early scene where Angel Eyes, he kind of he goes to this, I believe it's a Union camp, and they're like all in there, and the camp's been devastated, and he basically just from them gets the next place to go. That scene's not in the regular version at all. And in the moment, I thought the scene was cool, but then later on, we get so much more Civil War shit that I'm like, okay, I don't know if I needed this scene. And there's a few other examples like that. But I guess what I'm saying is, do you guys agree with me that the movie's too long at all? I don't think you will, but
Not personally, no. Was that scene, was that Confederates that were like lying around when Angel Eyes went to that place?
Yeah, I thought they were
it might have
Confederates.
been.
Yeah,
Gotcha. Yeah, no, you'd be
Because
right then.
yeah, because well, I think that scene kind of works in the movie because later we see more the perspective of the the North, the Yankees.
Yep.
So I feel like adding also the some of the perspective from the other side was good. Added to the sense of scale in the movie.
Yeah, no, that's a good point too. I agree with that 100%. I was often, yeah, didn't know whether they were with the Union guys or with the Confederate guys, but no, but the fact that I kind of later it became obvious that they were with the Union, so I kind of then just assumed they were with the Union the whole time, but obviously not. So no, that's a good point as well. I like when movies don't shy away from those other perspectives, and I think it's obvious that this movie definitely doesn't. And another thing that it was kind of obvious to me immediately, but I just thought maybe it was something to do with the audio technology at the time or something. I noticed how like the voices were slightly off with the performances, and I didn't realize that the movie was actually redubbed 35 years after it came out, and where the whole I have no idea that the whole time we were watching people being dubbed.
That's how Italian films were made at the time. They didn't record sound on set, so everything was dubbed. So even in the original release, voices
Everything,
were dubbed.
really,
Yeah, and because
right? Okay,
um they used actors from like a wide range of countries, and a lot of them didn't speak English, or they didn't have like a uniform language to speak. So some of the actors are speaking German, English, French, Italian, Spanish, whatever, and then it's just redubbed in that language with the entire film.
huh? Yeah, that's crazy. I had no idea about that. I thought it was crazy enough that they went back 35 years later and redubbed it. Um, I guess the reason I didn't pick up on that was the fact that I know obviously Clint Eastwood isn't going to be speaking another language in this movie, or at least I assumed he wouldn't be. And the fact that he also looked slightly off was kind of weird to me. I'm like, what? But so we're actually the whole time we're listening to Clint Eastwood like 35 years older.
You were talking earlier about influences this film has had on future films, and talking about Tarantino, how that's how you can see how much of an impact it's had on his career. But like when I was rewatching it now, I think if one film I feel, I'm not sure if you guys would agree, but I feel like this film had a massive influence on Pirates of the Caribbean, especially the first one, because
Really?
what The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly is, it's an epic tale of betrayal and backstabbings and friendships and weak alliances. And I feel if you compare that to the Black Pearl, you see a lot of the similar stuff with the way that Sparrow allies himself with Blackbeard or with Orlando Bloom's character, and how it constantly switches and there's changing sides and stuff. And I
Huh.
kind of and I feel like there's more similarities, and like I feel like um Tuco can be compared to Jack Sparrow, where they're kind of played as a fool on screen, but they're you're also given glimpses of how they're intelligent and resourceful, and they're actually quite smart characters. So I feel
Right.
like I feel like this the influence of this film goes further than just a few famous directors. I feel like you can root it in a lot of things.
Oh yeah, sure, absolutely. Sorry, yeah. When I kept bringing up Tarantino, I didn't mean it as like only limited to him,
Oh
but
yeah, no, like
for me,
yeah, no, I understand that, but I'm just saying like it goes from it can range, the influence can range from small things like title cards to stories and characters being imitated.
yeah, absolutely. That part of the Caribbean example is really interesting. I feel like I need to rewatch that movie to be honest. But that's a good point. But do you know what I'm saying with the Tarantino stuff though? Because for me, like watching this movie, it most reminds me in my I guess ignorance of a Tarantino movie.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, SBS, they did a special last year when Once Upon a Time was released. They interviewed Tarantino, and they were just screening all his favorite westerns that had an influence on Once Upon a Time. And there was like 10 or something westerns.
Oh,
So it's acknowledged that western films had a massive influence on Tarantino.
well, I mean, yeah, the title "Once Upon a Time in Hollywood" right just comes from I guess Once Upon a Time in the West and America.
It's also used
Well,
in
that makes a ton
Inglorious
of sense.
Bastards with Once Upon a Time in West Germany, isn't it? Or France, or whatever it is.
Is
Narcos
that
by France.
is that a chapter in
Yeah.
that movie? Gotcha. Okay. Okay. Yeah, I'd forgotten about that. Well, there you go. Makes a lot of sense. Another thing that kind of I found funny in this movie was kind of the violence, if you will, or like the deaths and everyone shooting each other and how everyone has the crazy aim. I thought that it kind of on paper feels cheesy or sounds cheesy, but I don't know, it kind of worked for me. I don't know, it's kind of strange.
Yeah.
How do you feel about it?
I think that's just how, like, yeah, that comes back to how Italian films were made at the time, and the fact that it's a spaghetti western. So it's all in that style, and like had it been had that not been intentional, or then it would have weakened the film. But because they acknowledge that and they want to lean into that aspect of it's a little bit more crazy, I think it worked really well for the film.
Fitzy, you mentioned the war scenes, and I think there's no question that the most substantial one is kind of the bridge sequence towards the end of the movie, and that whole time where the characters for probably a 10 or 15-minute period spend walking around in that area. I was still just I was blown away by, I mentioned the scale earlier, but the scale particularly there was really surprising to me. I was like, holy shit, there's like 5,000 people back there. I was like blown away by that set and how lived in that felt.
I also felt that like the long time between locations, like the long time it takes for the characters to travel, adds a sense of scale to it, adds a sense of distance.
Oh yeah, and of course, all the beautiful long shots of everyone just riding places. It's great. It's great. I could totally just watch like
Yeah.
3 hour movie of that for sure. Super entertaining.
The way the violence is played in the war is at a much more serious tone than what it is to just the outlaws and the bandits having a shootout. It's not exactly
Yeah.
light-hearted when it's cowboy against cowboy, but it doesn't have that same somber or serious tone as like the Civil War scenes do.
And that, I think that is really personified in the bridge scene, because I really love when the bridge is blown up and like the captain's like there, he's like gravely wounded or whatever, and he's like, smiling that this bridge is blown up. I do love, and then obviously then later when they get across the river and Clint Eastwood's character kind of puts the blanket on the dude who's like about to die. You're absolutely right that the film doesn't at all, um, you know, paint this conflict in a silly light at all. It seems to take the subject matter very seriously. And I know Leone did a lot of research about the Civil War as well. And I don't know, I think that really shows. I think it's cool to see that about this conflict.
I think an interesting thing with the bridge scene is that Eastwood acknowledges that if we blow up the bridge, it's good for us, but they're just going to go on carrying on fighting somewhere else. So like, while it's a small win in the moment, in the grand scale, it's nothing but a slight bump in the road, and it's just going to lead to more deaths. And I think that's what makes the scene hit a bit harder, because they acknowledge that, and that's what makes the captain's reaction to his happiness, that he's like, oh, my men will stop dying for a little bit. It makes it more bittersweet.
Absolutely. And I mean the other thing that quite more literally hits hard about the bridge scene is it's the bloody practical explosion.
Mm,
That was insane.
yeah,
Oh my god. I saw I've got on the trivia here that the bridge explosion almost killed Clint Eastwood, because you can see a piece of like shrapnel or debris or whatever come real close to like coming back and hitting his head. And there was this shit flying everywhere near the actors. I was like,
yeah.
Jesus Christ, this is like the most unsafe set I've ever seen.
Like also with the train scene, like where Tuco's trying to cut the chain with using the train. A similar thing happened there, where like he didn't realize how close his head was to the
Oh
bottom of
yeah.
the train, and like watching it now, like with that knowledge, it kind of just makes you feel like a bit sick in the stomach that this actor could have died here, because they weren't aware of just how close they were to one object or another.
Yeah. That was crazy. And I know there were several circumstances like that for Tuco's character, the train thing, like you said, and then
One of the hangings as well, wasn't it?
yeah, that's right. Yeah, there was the moment where the first time I think that Clint Eastwood goes to shoot him down from about to be hung, and I think what happened, like the gunshot scared the horse or something, and then the horse took off, but then Tuco's got is still binded by the arms, and then he's like riding this horse who's just running wild with no bloody arm control. I'm like, Jesus Christ, I can't believe they like actually friggin' tie up their actors like this.
Yeah. I mean, another thing that wasn't like, it's not on screen, but still like regards like safety on set, was that Eli Wallach, he drunk like a bottle of acid, thinking it was like a soda, because they had acid to like weaken the bags, like the material of the bag, but they put it in like a soda bottle, and Eli Wallach didn't realize that, and he just drunk like a bottle of acid.
Holy shit!
It's like those final scenes he shot with like his mouth full of swords and shit, like like it was like a weak level acid, but he's still like, it's insane.
Absolutely, God, dude, this. Oh my God, I might give this movie a shit score. This is like dangerous. This movie's like, buddy, I can't believe it didn't kill people. Oh my God, that's wild though. But miscommunication led to the bridge being blown up when there was no cameras rolling. So they had to rebuild the goddamn bridge and blow it up again,
Mm.
which obviously inflates the budget of the movie.
Didn't the Spanish army offer to rebuild that for like because the mistake was on their half? Because the Spanish army was like filled extra, like they were like a lot of the extras for the film, and the like they put like one of the army captains in charge of blowing it up, and he felt a bit responsible for it. So like, didn't they offer to rebuild the bridge?
Yeah, no, that is right. I think. Thank you, God. You're great at complimenting my little trivia bits here.
I mean, when you have 5,000 men building a bridge, I guess that's going to happen pretty quickly. I guess.
Yeah, I guess. I just couldn't even. Yeah, no, that's a good point. There are that many people, but I don't know. Like the I couldn't even imagine like going. Okay, now we have to rebuild this bridge just to blow it up again. That'd like really piss me off.
Hmm.
Why don't we bring up kind of our favorite scenes in the movie? And I think my favorite scene in the movie is it's the most obvious answer ever, but the final shootout was just 10 out of 10 moment. I was just like, dude,
Yeah.
this shit is awesome. I was so into it.
Mm.
I guess really everything up to the second that Tuco kind of comes across the cemetery and him running around it and the crazy shots of the camera just having a spasm. I was enjoying the hell out of all that. The score was insane in that moment, and then everything from there until the end was my favorite part of the movie. How do you guys feel about that?
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
What I love about I'm not 100% sure, but in the final shootout, when it comes to Angel Eyes, I'm pretty sure they sample part of the theme from For a Few Dollars More, where his character is, actually like a good guy, and like hearing that like because I only heard that this time around, that made me appreciate the final scene a bit more as well. But for sake of like variety, I'll say that my favorite scene is I don't know, maybe the shootout where Angel Eyes and his men are against Eastwood and Tuco, in that small town. That's a pretty cool scene. Man.
I guess that actually is actually probably one of the better examples of the goofy violence that I just loved, where like Eastwood's like popping all these dudes, and he pops one, and he's like up on the roof of the house or whatever, and he like does the crazy like flip off. I'm like, this is great.
Yeah.
I really like the scenes in the desert with Tuco dragging Blondie around, and when they find Bill, I thought those scenes were pretty great, pretty hilarious.
I thought those scenes dragged a bit. I think that was like one of my only problems with the film. Like I think a lot of those shots were necessary, but I feel like some of it could have just been trimmed down a little bit because I feel like it drags on a little too much.
I agree with you 100% with the dragging on thing, but that's another thing where kind of looking at the differences in the extended version, that a lot of that complaint is pretty much annihilated because there are a ton of shots that actually come from that sequence that are cut. I think like 2 minutes worth of shots are cut from that bit.
I think 2 hours and 28 minutes is too short of a runtime, but I feel like 3 hours is too long. I mean, like, I feel like a 2 hour 45 to hour 50 would be sweet spot.
Need to find like a little middle ground there.
Yeah.
One negative thing that could be said about the movie is that like there isn't as much to say about the movie in terms of the philosophy and themes behind it, kind of like a lot of Tarantino films.
I
But
thought that was going to be something you brought up.
Yeah,
but yeah, I don't really mind it in this movie because it's like it doesn't it just goes for the pure characters and action and score. I just found that all just so amazing that the lack of any kind of ideas that were presented didn't really bother me. Although I guess there were things you can talk about like subtle changes in Blondie's character. I felt he kind of I don't know. I felt he was maybe more amoral at the end, and then at the start, sorry, and then the end where he kind of frees Tuco and lets him keep the money is sort of a subtle character change, maybe, but yeah, that could be one thing that could be said about it.
I think like the anti-war kind of discussion is like the biggest thing to pull, like in
Oh
meaning
yeah,
wise. But I
yeah,
mean that brings up another discussion of do films need meaning, and I think me and Zach agree that it's not always necessary. I think it enhances a film quite often, but like I don't believe it's an underlying need.
yeah. I agree. I agree too. But yeah,
I do because I thought last year you were saying that they do. when discussing like the Joker or something like that.
Exposed.
Yeah, Joker. Well, the thing with Joker is that it's trying to be a social commentary. It's trying to say things,
Oh yeah, I agree.
or
I agree with you on that. Yeah, 100%.
or at least it's trying to be a character study or something, right? So I feel that
But it fails.
yeah, if a movie is trying to do that and it doesn't succeed on that level for me, then it's not great. But since this is just not trying to do that at all, it doesn't have any allusion to that. It doesn't bother me as much.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. I did. I kind of had a similar thing where the movie ended for me, and when most movies end, I do kind of like to reflect for a second about the themes, etc., and all those elements. And yeah, I was kind of left with nothing, and that wasn't a bad thing for me at all. I was like, oh yeah, cool. Um, yeah, I did really enjoy the movie on a level of I've said it, I know, but like on a level of a Tarantino movie that's just a ton of you know great characters, exciting set pieces, great moments, and a really cool, interesting story. And that's I'm in and I'm out, and that's great. That's what I felt about the movie personally. I don't know if I saw it as some kind of groundbreaking, like holy shit moment. Maybe again, if I was alive at the time, maybe, but I don't know. I just thought it was a really great movie. That's kind of just the way I see it at the moment.
I think what adds to my enjoyment of it is that westerns aren't commonplace these days. You have your occasional modern western or some that take on western influences, but they're not the same as like for many years westerns was one of the most popular genres that Hollywood was pumping out, but then it slowly like faded off as audience changed what their interest was. So like just being able to watch a western in a world that's so saturated with action, like just pure action or whatever else, it's a nice change.
I don't personally watch many westerns, so everything just felt new to me in this movie. Like, I guess I'm kind of saying I had the opposite experience of Zach, like, where he feels that he's seeing things that he sees a lot in movies today. For me personally, yeah, everything felt really like groundbreaking and new now, I guess.
Really cool.
Yeah. Like I thought even the title sequence was very cool,
It
stylistically.
was, yeah.
um I think a testament to, is it Leave and Cliff or Cliff? I think a testament to his acting skills is that as Angel Eyes is the fact that it's such a flip from his character in For a Few Dollars More, because in that film he's he's the caring father seeking um not revenge but like what's the kind of word for revenge, um he's seeking justice.
Redemption.
He's seeking justice.
Right. Right. Yeah.
um and you're rooting for him the entire film, and he's a really brilliant character in that, and that's why Leone wasn't sure if he was going to bring him back for this film, because can he, it's such a dramatic shift, but
Yeah.
he pulls it off amazingly well, with his intense glares and just his presence on screen. It's you can really feel it.
And I didn't even mention when I brought up the dubbing thing 35 years later that um he had died at that time. He'd passed away. So we actually don't hear him at all. When we watch this movie, we're hearing another voice actor. And I think the fact that we're not, I don't know, that's kind of an interesting thing actually. Like the performance, the physical performance still really stood out to me. So I think the fact that despite not being able to, convey anything with his own voice, and the fact that he still kind of had that effect, I think it's a testament to him.
Well, in his introductory scene, he doesn't speak for 4 or 5 minutes, doesn't it? And you can feel it's intimidating and it's daunting. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Yeah.
One thing I took note of while I was watching the movie, you know how when Tuco and Angel Eyes they kind of meet, and Angel Eyes at this point is, I guess, he's posing as a Union captain, I guess, or something, and Angel Eyes acknowledges that him and Tuco have some kind of previous relationship. Was that's kind of interesting? I don't know. There was nothing about that much in the movie, was there, other than the fact they just kind of acknowledge that they know each other?
Well, when they arrive as prisoners, Blondie and Tuco, he Tuco pointed out to Blondie, he goes, "Isn't that Angel Eyes?" And you know, Angel Eyes acknowledges
Oh,
that
right.
he knows who Blondie is as well. He because like when he brings him in
Yeah.
after his interrogation, he goes, "I know, you would have talked or whatever." So it shows that they have that previous history, but it's not commented much on in the film.
Gotcha.
Well,
Okay.
earlier in the film, you've also got in the
In the second game,
when yeah, Angel Eyes says, "Oh, he's got someone looking after him," and then looks to Blondie, so maybe he already knows him at that point as well.
hmm.
Right. Yeah. Because no, I definitely got that. Angel Eyes was um, perceived that what was going on in that situation and the dynamics at play. But I just didn't. Yeah, I didn't get it all until later that they actually knew each other. You know what I mean? They actually had that relationship. So
Yeah, I think some people could have. I think some fans, like they take the line as, because of history from the previous films, but because it's because the date timing's out of order, you can't take it as that. But I think some people chose to interpret that line as of or like well their recognition of each other as connections to the other films.
Angel Eyes was, yeah, like I said, was posing. Did we learn how we kind of got into that position to be posing as a general in the Union? Like he kind of just turned up there.
Is he posing though? Because when he talks to whoever's like who was actually in charge of the camp, like the captain of the camp, this it seems to have like some like a fair history between them two. So
Yeah, that's
is
true.
he
Yeah,
actually
That's true.
because
they said
well he
they
also
said
knows Bill Carson, so perhaps Angel Eyes has always been tied up in the war because that's how he first came to know Bill Carson, isn't it?
that was from the guy that started that, wasn't it?
Yeah, I thought the guy in the bed just wanted what he wanted to learn about the money, so he sent Angel Eyes to learn about it, and then Angel Eyes learned about it himself, and then just thought he'd just take action himself.
Right.
Yeah, that's right. But also they said that that Angel has applied for the job or got the job or whatever in those one of those camp scenes.
Oh, okay, okay. He just went on Seek.com and applied for a union
Yeah.
general role.
Would things have been similar to like how because I know in like Russia at the time to get like a high ranking position in the army you just had to pay for it. So was that a similar system in America at the time where he just paid his way to the
Oh,
top?
maybe.
Well, it was in feudal Russia, like back when the Tsar was in power.
One aspect of the final scene, I love, like I said, I love the whole scene, but one aspect that I do really love is Tuco's end. I love the fact that obviously the noose comes back into play and he has to stand there and Eastwood saves him. I kind of saw it as some kind of like twisted form of kind of justice that like a taste of his own medicine kind of thing. He has to. I guess they've done that act so many times where Eastwood has to save him by shooting the rope or whatever. But the idea, every time Tuco knows that he's about to be saved, and then in that moment Tuco wasn't sure he was going to be saved, and he's like shitting himself. And the fact, but Clint Eastwood's a good bloke. He does end up actually saving him. But the fact that he kind of actually makes him think he's screwed. I don't know. I thought that was
Yeah,
kind of a cool kind of play there.
yeah. I love how Eastwood's just basically trolling everyone at the end. He's like, oh, I'm gonna put this name on this rock. We're all gonna try and shoot each other, and then it's just
Yeah.
hilarious.
I mean, his games start like back from like when he first says the wrong name to Tuca. I mean, because like from that point he knows that it's all just tricks and puzzles from this point, and he knows he has to like he has to let on like make it seem like he's not revealing everything. I think it's from like half an hour prior to the ending that these mind games start.
Yeah, I guess in general, I don't know. There are a few scenes I just kind of I don't know. I don't know how much they add.
Yeah,
I think the moment where Tuco kind of goes very early on, he kind of goes to the gun shop and he kind of messes around in there for 5 minutes. Like, I don't know, it's kind of endearing. I guess it's kind of silly, but I don't really know how much it really adds to the movie. Especially when another trivia fact is that what's his name again? Sorry,
Eli
Jane, who
Wallach.
plays Tuco? Thank you. Yes, he kind of improvised. He kind of improvised that whole scene. I don't know. I just don't. I think there are kind of a handful of moments like that are just like
But
I feel like this
it's
could have
character building
could have
though.
been
I
left
feel like
out.
it's because I feel like that's one of those moments where you're kind of made to. It's a combination of showing how he's foolhardy but also quite resourceful. I think it's kind of an important scene, and plus it's entertaining.
Yeah, I guess so. I guess. I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm not sitting there like I'm not sitting here saying it was a terrible scene or anything. I was just kind of left after. I'm like, all
Hmm.
right.
Yeah.
Although I will say, back in if this is in any way, I'll never know. But if this is in any way like an accurate representation of bloody, what it was like at the time in these kind of towns and these shops, dude, these shops look like the easiest places to rob ever. Crazy, just like grab a gun out and just literally off the shelf, like literally gun sitting on the table and just like grab two and just start freaking holding up the joint. Shit, that was easy.
I think that just comes with the Italian film aspect of outlandish portrayal.
I guess so. Oh well, I mean, do you think it was actually like that?
I highly doubt it. I think in the other films they show, in the other films from the Dollars trilogy, I think it's a bit more realistic in portrayal of like, because like they do show like a big robbery and it's like the planning and like the required force and men to go into it. I think it was that scene was just more played for comedy.
I mean, yeah, well, that's a good point. They actually really weren't. There wasn't really a police presence at all. There was a sheriff at the
Mm.
start briefly. There wasn't really any kind of law enforcement presence in this entire movie.
Yeah, I was about to say that. Yeah.
Oh right, yeah. With in the moment where after Tuco walks back, Clint Eastwood drops Tuco in the desert, and Tuco walks back, and finds Eastwood in the hotel or whatever, and how like the cannon like blows up the roof and like the upper level.
Oh
Yeah.
Was the idea there that like are those is that town like constantly under fire from these cannons?
Um, you saw the troops from the Civil War earlier in the scene marching out, so I guess they'd been stationed in that town for a few days, weeks, months, however long. So I guess the town was under siege at that point.
Right, right. Okay, that makes sense. And were the like the four dudes that were like hanging out with Tuco helping him out, were they actually his family?
No, his only actual
Who were
family
they?
is just old mate bandits, I guess. His actual family is,
They
is
can,
only his brothers from the monastery.
yeah, right. Because they can. Yeah, okay, yeah, that makes sense. I thought that. By the way, that brief inclusion of that brother character was kind of interesting. But those bandits kind of confused me how they all just kind of popped in there. I was like, what? They kind of just dropped their ropes down, and that was a scene that's actually cut in most versions. So I thought that was kind of funny. It actually feels like I don't know how it's kind of interesting. I feel like there's actually not, I mean, we've talked for plenty. Don't get me wrong, but I feel like there's not like a ridiculous amount to talk about with the movie. I feel like it's all pretty straightforward. Like, yeah, everything's great.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, to me, it's like everything's incredible, but yeah, I see what you mean.
Oh, yeah, fair enough. Well, then, Fitzy, start us off with what's your, in line with that, what's your score out of 10?
10, 10 out of 10. Yeah.
It's like the chillest like way I've ever heard. You just gave out a 10 out of 10, just like, yeah, it's a 10, yeah.
Yeah. I'm just handing it out.
Just fair enough. Why not? You don't throw them out willy nilly either. You make them sound like you just give them out all the time.
Yeah, I just don't feel I can say. I
It
mean, I
doesn't
could
need
say.
any more justification.
Yeah, it's just it's a 10.
9. I think it's brilliant, but I think that some of the scenes drag a bit too much, and I think that For a Few Dollars More is a better film in the trilogy. So just when you compare it, I think that you know, I think, I mean, very close to a 10, but it's just that there's something holding it back and keeping it at 9, and I think the length is one of those things.
Yep, I'm with you there. I'm giving the movie an 8. Well, look at us. We're going perfect descending order there. That's great. I think the movie's great. Really, really liked it. I'm looking forward to it. One day I don't know when the hell I will, but I'll check out those other two in the trilogy, and it should be good. I don't know. I just don't think watching it. It didn't like wow me. I didn't think it was incredible like you did, Liam. I didn't. You know. I don't. I wouldn't prescribe those. Quite. I guess large, if you will, adjectives to it. I just think it was a really great movie. I really enjoyed. With some pretty cool attributes.
I'll just say for me like the scope of the movie and the characters are something that I think that I like personally really enjoy from movies. Like some of my other 10 out of 10s, like There Will Be Blood. the first two Lord of the Rings movies. They have that same kind of they have that same kind of those same kind of attributes. So yeah, I
Okay, cool. No, yeah, I can see those. I think I can kind of feel the similarities of what you're talking about.
plus I feel like I like longer movies, sort of they're just epic kind of journeys. But this
Yeah,
this this feels epic, but it also feels like personal on the level that the characters are so fleshed out, and yeah, I just like enjoyed everything about it really.
I feel like the 3 hour film died out for a while and now it's slowly being revived.
I personally, yeah, I think it's clear from this. I don't know. I like my films shorter. I think if a filmmaker is able to tell their story as effectively as possible, and as efficiently as possible in reduced period of time, I think it actually speaks more to their ability than if someone were to make a 3 hour movie.
Well, Tarantino
Um,
certainly doesn't do that. His films just dwindle on.
I don't really agree.
No, I mean, like, what? His shortest film's probably like 2.5 hours, and like, I mean, I think you can look at every single one of his films and say that could have been dropped, that could have been cut a bit.
Oh,
I mean, like,
I don't know.
I
Reservoir
love
Dogs is real
Inglorious
tight.
Bastards, but I still think that like some of the things could have been, cut. I think 90% of feet shot can be cut from Tarantino's films. You know what I mean?
Well, I think the stuff that you thought dragged on in this movie, Zach, well, as Jaden said, kind of character building moments sort of just brought you deeper into how the character behaves and thinks and feels and stuff. But like that's kind of the same in Tarantino, really, because like all his, I mean, all, the strongest parts of his movies are probably the characters, right? And all those his longer movies just have extra scenes which build to the characters. I feel.
I mean, The Hateful Eight is like a what 2 hour and 50 minute film as well, is it not?
Yes.
And you absolutely love that. So like, what? Where's the difference in that?
I feel like, I mean, we'll talk about it when we do it, but I just feel like The Hateful Eight, from memory anyway, and I'm looking forward to rewatching it, just kind of, I just felt that tension that whole time. Whereas this movie, I don't know, like, I kind of disagree that this movie has a lot of tension the entire time. I like, when I'm sitting there,
But it's not
I don't
going
know,
for
like
that
an hour
tension
and
the
15
entire
minutes
time.
in, I'm not feeling anything. I'm just like, oh, okay, this is fun.
Well, I think that's definitely a personal thing for me. The tension definitely rose throughout the whole movie.
Yeah, I think it's a building tension, but I don't like. And you're right in saying it's not always there, but it's not intended to always be there.
Oh, no, yeah. Yeah, no, I get you. I don't know. I think The Hateful Eight, um, I don't know. I think for me at least, it just does a better job of building tension in a way this movie doesn't, I think. But again, I saw that movie a while ago, so
I was just saying to clear it up. Scores were 9, 10, and 8, which was an average of 9. So I guess I win.
nice. All right, let's go into some news chat. Um, I'm not gonna lie, on paper, I feel like doing a new segment on the podcast should be a bit more exciting than it has been. It's just been like this is delayed, now this is delayed. It's like, all right, we get it. Um, I'll do it again this week. I'll probably keep doing it just to throw it out there. Because why not? A Quiet Place Part Two has a release date. It was previously indefinitely delayed, but now it has a release date of September 4th. Which I don't know. I don't know if we. I'm not so confident we're going to be back in the theater at that point, but I guess we'll see. Who knows? Did you see us being able to see movies in September?
Probably not. I think the situation is only going to grow from here. I think everything's just going to be delayed, and it's going to keep on getting delayed until the point where distributors just say, "Fine, we'll stream it." Wes Anderson's The French Dispatch was also just delayed till October. So I mean, how many times will that be delayed before it's just fine? Just get it out there.
Yeah, I know. And you texted me earlier in the week about Tenet and the fact that hasn't moved at all yet, but it's totally going to.
Yeah, I think they're just. I mean, that June time slot is just June July time slot is just Nolan. So I guess they're trying to hold on to it. But you know, no way that's going to be released.
No. Could you imagine if they push it to June the following year?
Oh, can you imagine we get to June the following year and it gets pushed back again?
Jesus. I don't know if I'd be able to survive without Tenet in my life. Top Gun Maverick delayed till December 23rd. Black Widow delayed till November 6th, which you diehard MCU keen-eyed fans would remember that that's the Eternals release date. So that means every MCU movie has effectively been pushed forward a slot. The release dates remain the same. The movie changes, if you know what I mean, in the MCU lineup. So,
80% of
sorry.
people forget, MCU is redundant now that Endgame's done.
Yeah, I kind of feel that. Yeah, I'm just especially what now. Black Widow. Like we're doing a prequel. Like, okay,
Yeah.
sure.
Not a good way to start Phase 4 by going and trying to tie it back to earlier phases.
Yeah, I wouldn't have thought so. But hey, look, it's going to make over $1 billion. I can guarantee it. So, I guess we can let the market speak in that regard. You mentioned to me how Black Widow's composer was replaced. Do you want to break that down a bit? Who were the composers involved there?
Well, I was surprised because I never knew that. So Alexandre Desplat was first tied to the project. I had no idea because superhero films are definitely not his things. He's famous for his collaborations with Wes Anderson and his the dramas that he writes in films like incredibly loud and close, whatever it is. What is it, Fissy? Extremely loud and incredibly close. That. Um,
Yeah.
so to learn that he was tied to the project at all surprised me because it's not definitely not his type of film, and I think replacing him with Lorne Balfe is a smart move because Balfe is definitely like that bigger cinematic hit type thing. Because he's got a musical style similar to Hans Zimmer to the point where him and Zimmer often do collaborate. So I think signing up Lorne Balfe to your project is definitely good. Well, it should definitely benefit Black Widow, I think.
So you're saying you're kind of surprised that they made the original choice anyway, and this seems like a more logical choice to replacement anyway.
Yes.
Perfect. All right. Well, hey, hopefully Black Widow has a good score.
Oh, I was just about to say, I feel like there's actually a video on YouTube, called like the Marvel Symphonic Universe or something like that, and it talks about how most of Marvel's scores aren't designed to be memorable. They're just they I don't know, they're designed to just complement the movie or something. Because the guy went around and he asked strangers like to recite a tune from Marvel,
Oh yeah.
and most people could just think of like Spider-Man or something. So
Yeah. Hans Zimmer's score for Spider-Man 2 remains the best Marvel score ever, even though it's not part of the MCU.
Yeah. I feel like I've seen that video, Fitzy. It's kind of true though. I don't know. Like, I feel like. I mean, I've got no idea. I feel like the Avengers theme is pretty iconic these days, anyway.
the video was before Endgame. I feel like Endgame had added some good score to the universe.
Wasn't
All
Black
right.
Panther's score celebrated?
Yeah, it was actually. Who did? Yeah.
I think
Shit.
the chick that did Joker did that as well, didn't she?
I'm not sure. Oh, hang on. Wasn't it the
Isn't it
dude
like
that did the? I
Ludwig?
thought it was the dude that did Mandalorian.
Isn't hold on, maybe you're wrong.
Ludwig Göransson.
Yeah, that's the Mandalorian dude.
Yeah.
Yo, he's doing Tenet, right?
Is he?
Says here, yeah.
Oh, that's about to be dope. Let's do it. What have we been watching? Isn't this the most exciting, varied segment every week? All I've got is the same shit that I've been watching every other week. It's all still great. That's about all I've got to say. um, Jane, have you what have you been watching?
Um, I think what I've watched this week is kind of stayed to the 60s and 70s. I watched this, like, they're all B grade horrors as well. I watched this film called Asylum, which is a British anthology horror film from 1972, I think. Stars doesn't star, but it features one Sir Peter Cushing, who we all know
Ooh,
as Finny. Do you want to fill in? He plays
Grand Moff
Tarkin.
Tarkin.
Yeah, yeah. Um,
Yeah, thanks.
I started, but I was like, oh wait, hold on, does he? Yeah. I watched a film called The House That Screamed. Um, kind of that B grade horror leans into exploitation film. Not really that brilliant.
All right.
And then I also watched 10 Rillington Place, which is about a famous murder case in England in 1940, but the film was made in the 70s. Stars John Hurt, actually. Love me some John
Mm.
Hurt. That's all I've been watching this week.
No TV?
Oh, sorry. I caught up on Clone Wars. I think that's all. That's TV for me. I think at the moment.
Perfect. Well, there we go. I've got someone else to talk about Clone Wars with every week. Did you watch last night's yet?
Sorry, did they release on Thursday?
They released Friday nights at 7 p.m.
Oh,
Real
right.
time.
No, I haven't seen that one yet. I'm sorry. I thought they released on Monday, so I didn't realize.
No, that's all right. Perfect. All right. Good. Good. I have a partner there on that one. Fitzy, what about you?
I just rewatched Boogie Nights, and that's it. Apart from this movie.
PTA fanboy.
I was about to say, if you want to watch a movie about the porn industry in the 70s and 80s, that's your movie.
That's what I've been clamoring for.
The Nice Guys
Yeah.
actually talks about that a little bit as well.
None of you have made any Westworld progress.
Yeah, no, sorry.
Nah.
Wow. Disappointed.
How do you expect me to watch Westworld when I'm already watching a Western this week? I mean, we have to limit to one Western a week, Zach.
I guess you're right. I mean, Westworld's just beyond any form of Western at this point. But
Yeah.
yeah, I know what you mean. It's in the name.
Mm.
Perfect. So now, this is the fun part where I get to read out user-submitted things, comments. See, this is how this is meant to go, okay? I need you listeners to stop being cowards and write into the show. It'll be great.
Are you going to use their real names or their screen names?
I'll use whatever the hell they submitted the name as. So
Yeah, I was going to say
if they put their real names there, then I'm reading their real name. You know, I'm going to expose them. I love how my kind of way of encouraging more community on this show is to just like insult our viewers until they do what I want.
We'll see if it works next time.
Yeah, I mean, so far so good. We've got 3 submissions. Yo, if there's more than 3 next week, which I don't know if there will be, but if there's more than 3 reminder, you got to write in about what your favorite trilogy is, as Fitzy just made up on the spot. If there's more than 3, that means that this method works, and I'm going to continue insulting you. Henry wrote into us and said, I've started rewatching Neon Genesis Evangelion. God damn it, Fitzy, help me
Evangelion?
out.
Yeah, Evangelion. Or Evangelion sometimes. I think Evangelion.
I think it's Jelion. Yeah, Evangelion.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ. This week on Netflix, which is a great show that none of you will ever watch. Hang on, well, hold the phone there, Henry. You're goddamn right, I'm never going to watch it. But, Fitzy,
Yes.
are you going to watch this?
I've seen like 7 episodes of it. I do want to watch that and watch the end of Evangelion, the movie that comes after. I know Henry loves that movie. I want to see that for him, and for not for him, but
That's fair.
yeah.
I mean, I would expect that of you, as you're the resident weeb amongst us, aren't you? Would you say?
Gee, I don't know about that, but I've seen like 2 animes. I feel like, so Evangelion is probably like,
it's like one of the most celebrated animes there is, though.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, like that's why it's on my watch list as well. But like, that's the only reason is because I've only ever heard people say it's brilliant, it's brilliant, it's brilliant. You know.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen Cowboy Bebop and Death Note, so those are like really big ones, and now I just want to see this next one. I'm not a weeb, Zach, so there.
I feel like you totally are, though.
No, I'm not. I feel
Fitzy, that's how they draw you in. You're like, oh, only this one, only this one.
That's
Next
true.
thing you know, you're watching 200,000 episodes of Dragon Ball. I mean,
You're watching Castlevania though, Zach. So what do you have to say about that?
That's not, it's made in the US though. It's not a Japanese show.
that's like saying that Pokemon is
Technicalities
not.
we.
Because I mean, you watch the English dub of Pokemon. It's still a Japanese show, man.
Well, I've never watched Pokemon.
What? How have you never watched Pokemon?
I've seen like a few episodes on like, I don't know, on like Channel 10 back in the day. I've never watched like anything more than maybe 4 episodes worth.
Wow.
Hey, I did it. Well, hang on. Are you admitting you're a weeb now, Jaden? You want to get into it?
I think Pokemon's a different conversation.
I feel like Pokemon is the only one I can allow. Like, okay, fine. But if you've finished any other one, you're a weeb. And to be clear, you know, there's nothing wrong with being a weeb. You just got to embrace it, okay?
So you're a weeb. Castlevania.
No, I'm not. You need to take your criticism of being a weeb to heart, okay? I'm not a weeb.
Well, if I'm a weeb, then you're a weeb.
Why? You finished 2 animes.
Yeah, but you said any. Castlevania is an anime.
But it's, hey, what? Your two animes were made in Japan. They're like legit animes.
That's what I'm saying. If I'm a weeb, then we're both weebs. It's one or the other, you
What?
know. You said
What is
any
wrong with you?
that is not Pokemon.
No, any anime made in Japan that's not Pokemon. That's what I was trying to say.
All right, you just
I
added
was-
that.
I totally did, didn't I? Wow. Okay, sorry, Henry. I'm only halfway through your goddamn thing. Even though I think the end of oh Jesus, the end of Evangelon, what the hell did you
Evangelion.
say again?
Yeah,
Whatever you said is one of the best films of all time. Holy shit, dude. Maybe I should become a weeb if it's that good.
Nah, it's just Henry overreacting.
the
That's mean.
the episodes for Evangelion are only like 26 minutes long, so you should definitely watch it, Zach.
How many episodes are there, dude? That doesn't really
20 odd.
mean much.
There's like 26. Oh, maybe they're 20 minutes long. I'm not sure, but
Wait,
it's not bad.
hang on. You're telling me there's only like 20 episodes
Yeah, it's only one
Yeah,
season.
of the entire thing?
that's the same
Yeah.
with Cowboy Bebop as well. So you gotta watch that
Oh
as
shit.
well.
God, I didn't even know this. So hang on, are they breaking up into like? Are there even seasons? Is that even a thing?
No, it's only one season. That's it.
Holy shit, dude! I might become a weeb. I didn't even know this. I just figured when everyone talks shit about this, all I think about is Pokemon and how there's like 200,000 seasons.
Yeah, I mean, that's like Dragon Ball, Pokemon, One Piece. They're all like, trash that just goes on and on and on.
Oh yeah, Dragon Ball. Yeah, God, that's crazy. But yeah, okay, all right. No, I'm not gonna lie. I'm now like 10% on my journey to becoming a weeb. Maybe it'll increase in coming weeks. We'll see.
I'll give you my Cowboy Bebop discs, Zach.
Okay. Is that the only way I can watch it?
Probably, yeah. They're not on Netflix or anything.
Okay. Because look, I am interested. I'm not gonna lie. Okay, putting down the weeb hate patrol facade for a second. Like, I am interested in Cowboy Bebop to an extent. I just feel like the art styles and the whole Japanese thing is just gonna put me off so much.
Yeah, maybe. What about Death Note? Have you seen that? I feel
No,
like
never.
that's probably a better place to start to watch an anime. Because Luke's seen that.
Films are where to start because that's where I think anime films are great. I mean, like, anything by Studio Ghibli or like Akira or Perfect Blue, something like that. That's a good place to jump off, and then go into series from there. I'd say.
All right. Well, there you go. We'll continue documenting how I'm transforming into a weeb soon, I guess. Next up, we got Mr. Dandy, who we all know. Now, I assume we all know who we're talking about, but as we just discussed, I'm not going to reveal names. All he says is, actually loving Becca at the moment. Now, I didn't know what the hell Becca was. I had to look it up. And it looks like some sitcom from like 2000.
It's a Seinfeld-esque sitcom.
Wait, what were you gonna say, Jin?
I was asking if you knew who Mr. Dandy was.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. We're on the same page there. See, wait, so you'd heard of Becca? I certainly hadn't.
Yeah, Becca's pretty funny. I actually like it.
Oh,
Like,
okay.
I haven't seen a lot of it, but like from what I've seen, it's not as good as Seinfeld, but it's up there in like good sitcoms.
What is as good as Seinfeld, though,
Not much.
Not much.
I mean, The Office, I'd say, is the best sitcom there is.
Does The Office... Hang on. Okay, does The Office count as a sitcom? Is it a sitcom?
Isn't it? I mean, I always thought it was.
In my head, like, and no, don't get me wrong, I'm not making any argument. I've genuinely got no idea. In my head, a sitcom is like where they're all shot a very specific way and there's the canned in, laughing or, or actual real crowd laughing. You know what I mean? The Office hasn't got any laughing in it.
Yeah, but it's just an evolved sitcom. It's a modern day one. It's because like
Oh,
it's
okay.
because the producers realize the audience doesn't need to be told when to laugh because if something's funny, the audience will just laugh.
Situational comedy, I guess. I guess all the comedies on Situation in The Office, so sitcom.
Luke wrote into us and said, I've been watching and loving Suits. Great show, great characters. I understand it can be repetitive at times, but once you get past that and just enjoying it as a fun show. That's what he wrote. Luke exposed for can't speak English, okay? It's great. Characters are great. The theme music is banging. 8 out of 10. Thanks, Luke, for writing in about Suits. Have either of you watched Suits at all?
Yeah, I saw a couple seasons back in the day.
Oh shit, a couple seasons. Oh my god, you've got a Suits expert over here. I didn't even know.
Yeah, he's right there. I think it's definitely the characters are the strong suit. It is repetitive, but yeah.
It is a CW show, isn't it? Or something similar to like that kind of network show. where it's like it's the 20 season thing, that like the 20 episode season where they just pump out one every
Mm.
year.
How many episodes a season are there? We'll be able to distinguish this, I think.
Oh yeah, there's like there's 10 or so.
Oh,
Oh,
okay.
okay.
Never mind. I was with you, Jaden. I was thinking it was along those lines too.
Yeah.
Luke says, according to this, that Suits is an 8 out of 10. Now, Fitzy, we were talking to Luke earlier this week, and he was giving it a 9 out of 10. So
Interesting.
I don't really like this. He's just changed his mind.
Zach, I've got something else you won't like. Fitzy lied to us. They're actually 16 episode seasons.
Dude.
I just saw 10. Season 9.
Season 9
Yeah,
and
that's the
season
last
1.
season. The last season's
Yeah.
only got fewer.
Season 9 and season 1 are the shortest ones, but the rest is all 16.
Oh okay. Sorry, I lied.
Can't believe it.
How dare you? 16 episodes is way too many episodes, and anything beyond that's just ridiculous. If they're all an hour long.
Yeah, I used to be the type that just ate up like 20 episode seasons, and I think that's be the only way. But then, like, once you kind of start watching 10 episode or 6 episode stuff, you realize like that's all you really need.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Because
Yeah.
how many episodes of like 15 plus episode shows are like just filler?
Oh, so many.
And I mean, I guess at a point, like the writing just does falter just because of how long you have to like make your things.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, The Walking Dead just put me off that. I watched so many seasons, and I'm just like, nah. That's put me off that kind of show forever, I think.
I realize that I'm being a bit hypocritical now because The Office is like 20 episode seasons, but they're only 20-minute episodes. So
yeah, exactly. No, they're 20 minutes, dude. Yeah, that doesn't count. That means that it's essentially 10 episodes.
Yeah.
All right. As it completely starts to pour outside here, and I can barely hear you anymore, we better wrap up. Thank you for tuning into Cinema Effect. We appreciate your time as always. Thank you, Jaden and Liam, for jumping on and talking shit about movies as always.
That's what I'm here for.
That's all right.
Fitzy, what are we watching next week, and where can the audience watch it if they want to?
We're watching another Clint Eastwood joint. He directed it and he's acting in it as well. Unforgiven is on Netflix in Australia, so you'll have to watch it now.
Exactly, you got no excuse. I see these cowards that are like, oh, I don't really want to listen to your show because I don't know the movie. Guys, watch the movie, okay? It's as simple as that, okay? That's all you have to do. We're giving you plenty of warning. You've got 7 days to watch it. I'm exposing you, okay?
And we're kind of it's kind of like tracking the evolution of the Western in a way, moving on, because this film was made in what, 1990s or 80s or something.
Oh, sorry, Unforgiven, 92, isn't it?
Yeah. So yeah, it's kind of like you can see it as the next kind of stage or whatever.
Yeah, and we'll continue doing that the week after. We've got another Western lined up, so we're doing a little Western trilogy here for absolutely no reason. There's no theme to it or anything. We're just doing it. Is it pouring outside for you guys right now?
No, it kind of moved past my area. It's just wind now.
Oh shit, dude! It is.
Is that part staying in the
completely-
podcast about the weather, or was that getting cut?
Holy shit! So wait, what? I can't even hear. What'd you say?
Is the part about the weather staying in, or is that getting cut?
Oh hell yeah, it's staying in the podcast. I got no idea. All right, yeah, no, I can't hear you any longer. I've got to get out of here. Thank you all again. All right, we'll see you next week. Take care until then, and see ya.